Okay, so I'm going to do my spoiler review on this week's Twin Peaks episode, episode 14, starting off with Albert and Tammy. We've never had a conversation between these two in regards to doppelgangers being explicitly something that the FBI is not only aware of but are acting upon. So I found that quite interesting, in that Albert is talking about a case, primarily the first Blue Rose case. A blue rose being something you don't find in nature, as Tammy points out. I do think that there's a big regard now to making sure that Tammy is seen to be someone that we can respect as a FBI agent, and therefore less questions will be asked on our behalf in terms of Gordon's logic in bringing her into this world. I think that the whole reveal about Diane being the half-sister of Joni E is not only interesting, but definitely unexpected, since this universe that Lynch has put us into has so many secondary, if not tertiary, characters that are willing to fill in certain roles in terms of their involvement with each other. But then again, at the heart of it, no matter how strange and Lynchian this show is, it's actually a soap opera. And so to find that them having Joni E and Diane being that close makes things quite strange. I wonder how much the evil Cooper, through Diane, knows about Joni E. And if indeed he is responsible for Dougie in terms of the mutual benefits of having a doppelganger. There's a lot to be discussed, so please send a comment or two. The Monica Bellucci dream reminded me a lot of, and no surprise really, of Inception, how Cobb's character, played by DiCaprio, is sitting down in a Paris, or outside the Paris cafe, having a conversation about the nature of dream. But superficial anecdotes aside, we don't know if this is Gordon Cole's singular dream, or if indeed he is part of someone else's dream, as is implied by what is said to him in the dream. The dreamer becomes the dream and whatnot. I love how it was shot in black and white. Monica Bellucci never fails to elicit a certain mystery just from the way she's shot. And in no disrespect to the actress, because of her limited range, it was good that she didn't really have too much to actually say, or at least she was directed well. I think that the episode being in memory of David Bowie means that we may not necessarily see too much of Phillip Jeffries again. We've used all the shots that were used in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Obviously the main shot of him coming in and explaining to Gordon that he's, a bit confused because he doesn't know who that person is when he's pointing to Del Cooper, obviously inferring that there are doppelgangers, and that person who Gordon thinks is Del Cooper isn't actually him. So worrisome times, but intriguing for us watchers. Andy is probably the most interesting person that could actually be taken into that strange whirlpool vortex, whatever it is, because he's the most, obviously the most innocent of the gang, so therefore that's always been a recurrent theme in Twin Peaks: innocence, and how you are rewarded for it or made vulnerable to various forces. I think Andy being taken up in there, he's the least qualified person to be in that situation to make certain decisions, and yet his very pure nature was, upon his return, to protect that lady with the no eyes who we've seen earlier on in the season. She feels to me like someone who could elicit information not through conversation but through action, and hopefully the gang, Hawk, Sheriff Truman and Bobby will be able to get that information in time and at some point coalesce or regroup or group, because they've never actually met properly, Gordon Cole and Albert, not for some many years though, and in Sheriff Truman's case not at all. What else do we have? Quite a lot. This episode is probably my favorite now. And this is happening quite a few times where I get settled into an idea of what the show can do, and it surprises me. Like you guys as well, I'm sure you're constantly reevaluating how you feel about the show, simply because in many different ways it's not exactly what we expected from it. Primarily Cooper not being the driving force of it, but that, as I'm quite pleased to say, and I think I've moved towards it, it's not really a problem for me now. I don't think that we really need to see Cooper come back as yet. I don't miss him that much now because of what's going on, and that's a triumph, I think, for Lynch and Frost. What else do we have? What do all these entities want? What do you think they want? I mean, how do our small feet of clay concerns truly affect what happens out in the megasphere, wherever it is that they're from? The giant now describing himself as the fireman, the strange entities that are running around the woodsman, and all these different strange symbiotic creatures that seem to use the human beings. I mean, it was implied in the Fire Walk with Me film, and also the later parts of Twin Peaks, that these creatures need fear in order to survive. And so, there must be some grand plan other than the Garbanbosia. I'm not even sure how you pronounce it, but that weird substance that they create out of fear. There must be something else that all these creatures want. What does the fireman want? Who knows? Let's see. So James Hurley has a friend who we met earlier on in the season who has a weird green hand, and on his hand, this weird green glove that he has, he can't take it off, he says, because otherwise it bleeds. So it's become a part of him, and he's got a strange, almost superhero backstory in terms of his power, apparently superhuman strength, and his ability now to fulfill his destiny by going to Twin Peaks on a whim. I think that's partly a nod to what Nadine Hurley was going through in season 2 of Twin Peaks, and also a nod to the superhero culture that we're in now. In that, in some way, I think Lynch is aware of it, and the archetypes that walk within it being useful to him in terms of maybe his comment on the dream state or the collective unconscious, which is, I think, a lot of what Twin Peaks rests upon. Let's see, I think final things now. Sarah Palmer. Sarah Palmer seems to be, as I suspected in the earlier spoiler review, trying to dampen the awareness of her strange lifestyle now, in that has been revealed as not just seeing things, but actually being a thing. She opens her face, as we've seen before. We've seen someone do that in the convenience store in Fire Walk with Me, and now she can open her face and actually attack anyone that she perceives to be a threat. Unlike her husband, I don't think that the creature that resides within her is particularly predatory, but more defensive. For whatever reason, it's latched upon her and is able to take out people who are in any way offensive to her. I have a really strong feeling that we're moving into an area of the show which won't necessarily have all the answers, but definitely leave us with more and intriguing questions. And hopefully those questions will be things that, once they are never answered, we'll find somehow worthy of our time. See you next time, guys, and remember, there are many other videos on the net to check out what's going on. So please don't just rely on one source. There are many different reviewers. Hopefully you can do something yourself.